Just gonna hit record so I don't forget to record this for the folks who aren't able to join. And well, I'm gonna still give another 2 or 3 minutes for other folks to join in. Hey, Michael, good to see you.
Hey, Ben. Happy to see you too. Ariel says hi.
Hi, back. All right, we're just giving another 2 minutes for more folks to join in, and then I'll get started. Hey, Natasha, good to see you again. Been a long time. Hey, Ian. I'm not sure which Ian. Natasha is a Notion ambassador and certified consultant, so could definitely be teaching this as well. Okay, I think we'll jump in a second. Hey, John. Oh, hey, John. um, cool. Yeah, I'm excited to share more as well. I think we have a good chunk of people here, so we'll get started. It's good to have a bunch of Notion ambassadors here as well. Sure, if you have any questions, they'll probably be able to answer very, very well. Cool. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Can you all see this? And feel free to, I can see the chat. I have it open, so feel free to chime in there. You able to see? Okay, great. So quick background on myself. I have been on the Notion team for the past 5 years. Joined when I was pretty small, and had the opportunity to work on some really incredible things over the years, and obviously used Notion myself. I used Notion before I joined Notion. In fact, that's how I ended up joining the company. I came across Notion on Product Hunt and really fell in love, started sharing my setup on Twitter, built a website where people could share their setups, and that's how I connected with the team. Still a heavy user, very passionate about Notion. I have been using Arc for probably the past year, I think, basically since whenever it came out, which, Arc, for those who don't know Arc, maybe aren't as familiar, it's what I might describe as like next generation browser. So you would replace like Chrome or Firefox with Arc. And for me, it's become kind of where I do everything. So today I'm just going to kind of give you behind the scenes of how I use Notion and Arc. I use both of them in I'm very minimal and I like to keep things simple. So you might not see like very sophisticated databases or formulas inside of my personal Notion. I'm mostly going to be showing my personal Notion. I'm not going to really be talking about like collaboration with Notion. So that's a whole other topic that we can talk about in the future. And if you have any questions as we go, feel free to ask in the chat. I'm sure people can answer, especially anything Notion, probably Arc related as well. There's definitely people here who know much more than me. So feel free to ask in there. And if you want to answer, go ahead. I'll also try to answer any questions like later on at some point. Starting with Arc. Arc, this is my Arc. You can see this is the browser. This is what it looks like. It looks a little different than Chrome. I think there's a few kind of important concepts here. One is I've moved all my desktop apps into Arc. So if you look at my dock here, I barely have anything at this point. I like to keep things really clean. I'm moving Slack as well into Arc as well. So I won't have Slack here at some point. So my goal is to basically have everything inside of Arc. It's just, for me, it's really, it's just faster and great experience to have everything in one place. So meaning instead of having like the Notion desktop app or Slack desktop app, I would just access Notion or Slack or Superhuman through Arc. And kind of when you get started, I would say like the most important things are spaces. Spaces are these little icons here. And the way it works is you can create your own spaces for whatever works, whatever works for you. So I have three. I have a personal space, angel investing, and travel. And you can essentially keep your bookmarks here. They stay here, customized to this space. And then as you're kind of exploring the internet, any new tabs will go down here, and after 24 hours they get closed. So your browser will stay pretty clean. So it's important to kind of bookmark the things that you use pretty often. And so, for example, these are the folders and tabs I have open. I have bookmarked in my personal space. If I go to travel, I have some travel related bookmarks here. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. If I go to angel investing, I have some important bookmarks for angel investing. And this is just really helpful for like context switching when I'm working on, when I'm planning trips or traveling. I just find it really valuable to be able to kind of switch between different contexts. And if you're working, for example, at a company or at I don't know, if you're a consultant, you can create a space for like your client or create a space for the company you're working at, and it just kind of helps you keep everything organized in one place. And that's kind of like, I think the most important concept when you're getting started with Arc is just figuring out like what your spaces look like. It took me a while to figure out what I wanted, and I sometimes like go back and forth, like, should I have a different space, another space, and it's pretty dynamic, but these are like the main ones I use that now. And then you have other things I think that are really cool about Arc that I've really enjoyed over the past few months, like Boosts. Boosts is essentially a way to like edit the internet and have it saved for you. So to give you an example, like when I go to Product Hunt, I like to keep it really clean. So I've actually created a boost where, or I can, do I have this boost? You go here, you edit boost, and you can go and zap things from here. Like, for example, maybe I'll zap this, and then hit done. And then now the next time I come to Product Hunt, if I'm refreshing, it's saved. So now like every time I come here, I have kind of my own experience for Product Hunt. And I can even like change the font and do all kinds of fun things. So I mostly use this to clean up some websites where I like them to be a little, more minimal. I do this for Twitter as well. And you can totally play around with this. There's also an Arc Boost gallery. So if you search Arc Boost gallery, if someone wants to post a link in the chat, you can explore what other people have done. I've made a couple of these for like Product Hunt, Twitter, Notion, like the things I use the most, just to kind of make them work really well for me. So I think boosts are great. And then other things that are, I think, helpful about Arc is, one, there's an extension for there's a shortcut for creating new notes, and you can go ahead and customize, like, does this create a Notion note? Does this create some other product, whatever it might be? I of course use Notion, and so every time I hit this or I hit the keyboard shortcut, it'll create a new note. And then keyboard shortcuts are also a really big thing. So Command T is to open a new URL to switch between things. There's a whole bunch of really great keyboard shortcuts in Arc. I highly recommend using them. And then lastly, you can still use extensions like in Chrome. So for example, like I use 1Password, they're right here. And I use another one called Go Effin Work. So if I go to like Twitter, it blocks it, tells me to go work. And then if I want to access it, I have to go and like actually pause it for 5 minutes, and then I can access it. So it's just a Chrome extension that I found to be like pretty useful for myself. So it still works the same way as a browser. It just has like all this really great added functionality. The spaces I think are really incredible. The tabs that close automatically over time. the keyboard shortcuts. It's really fast. I find that when I use Chrome now, I feel like I'm going back in time and using a really, really slow product. Arc is super, super fast, and I feel like it keeps getting faster. So that's why I've stopped using desktop apps and just use everything inside of Arc. So I'm a big fan. It took me maybe a couple days to like get used to it because you're kind of switching away from like uh, a setup where you have all your tabs at the top, everything's moving to the side, these spaces, a little confusing at first, and then you have just all these really nice, all this really nice functionality that makes it a lot more pleasant, I think, than Chrome. Anyone have any questions so far? I know I kind of sped through Arc, but happy to answer any questions. And you can ask in the chat. And just by the way, if you don't have this yet, you can head to arc.net. I think that's where you download it. And they have it for Mac, and I think they're in beta for Windows. So if you're on Windows, you might not be able to use it yet, but I think they're getting pretty close. Any other Arc questions before we move on to Notion? Okay, I'm not seeing any at the moment.
Hey, Ben.
Perfect. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the thing is, there's a concept of pinned tabs, which can be present under various folders and deeply nested inside subfolders. And when I search for any pinned tab, it will expand the entire folder structure, making it really distracting. I may need to again move the pinned tab to today's tab section to really make sense of the structure, because I would like to see all my open tabs that I have open at a time in a single view. Whereas when I search for any pinned tab, it expands the folder structure. Like it would make the sidebar really cluttery. Am I missing something here? What workflow you suggest? Or what is the exact way by which Arc changes your browsing pattern that may be linked to that?
Good call. I forgot to mention these pin tabs. So these are tabs that go across all your spaces. So if I go to angel investing or travel, they're still the same.
No, those are not pin tabs. Those are favorites. So
favorite
I'm
tabs.
talking about
Sorry.
Yeah.
These ones?
Yep. Yes.
I think I can suggest a workaround around it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not entirely sure what you mean, but let's chat about this after, because I think I just want to try to move to Notion before the time ends here.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't mention before that these tabs kind of move over between everything, and I find this to be really useful. But I just want to move to Notion because we only have 15 minutes left. So Notion. So I'm using Notion here in the web. Again, I just really like having access here. It goes across all my spaces. So I spend a lot of my day inside of Notion just because it's where I do kind of most of what I do. And it's super accessible in Arc. The reason I pinned it here as one of my favorites is I can then go back and it has this little preview here to like see things you've been looking at. So there's just a really nice kind of flow between Notion and Arc in a bunch of different ways. So when it comes to Notion, I mean, some people here might use Notion already, some might not, some might be pretty advanced. I know some people are pretty advanced here, so I'm just gonna kind of keep it simple and just share how I use Notion the ways I do. I think it might be a little surprising because I use Notion in very minimal, simple ways. I try not to like over-engineer things and try to. Over the years, I have done that, and I've just kind of gone back and realized like what works for me is just kind of keeping things super simple. So going back to kind of when you get started with Notion, I think really important to think about like what workspaces you have. So I'm in a bunch of workspaces. Some of these are mine. Some of them I'm a guest in. I'll just talk about like a few that where I spend some time. So for example, I have my personal workspace. This is the one I'm in right now. Ben Space. This is just me inside of here. It's where I do all of my personal stuff. There's really not any collaboration, not really adding people to pages, maybe very occasionally. There's no other members, just me. Then I have like a relationship Notion with my wife, where we're both members in there, and we use that for like grocery shopping and planning trips and budgets, etc. And then I have one that's actually more for like investing. So kind of all my investing related activities I do in there. And that's more like collaborative. And then there's all the guest spaces. So I would say where I'm just going to concentrate mostly is just like personal workspace and what I do. And again, like I think really important to remember that I think the beauty of Notion is that you kind of make it into whatever works for you. It's a tool, product, platform that really gives you kind of the ability to mold it into whatever you want to be, and build the Lego blocks into whatever set you want it to look like in the end. What I do is I'll show you my homepage. So I have a pretty simple kind of home where I keep kind of my main kind of pages here. Some of these link out to different. This links out to like my relationship, my workspace. This is the database of notes. This is like a personal dashboard that's pretty simple. So, but these are all kind of like, these are the things that I like access mostly on a regular basis. So I'll start off with just like my dashboard. I like to keep things super simple. So this is what it looks like for me. This won't work for everyone. I've changed over time, modified it. Basically what I do is I just kind of put like 2 or 3 main things I'm focusing on for like the next few weeks, planning, spending more time on things that I'm working on next later on. And then when I'm done, I just kind of drag them into the archive. So if I did this, I just drag into the archive. So it's about as simple as it can get. It's not a database. I'll add in like reminders sometimes. I'll add in tags depending. I just found for me personally that this works really well because I will go back here throughout the day and kind of just prioritize based on what I have in here. Also on mobile, it's just very clean. So I can just like anytime I need, I have a widget on my homepage that links directly to my dashboard, and I'll just add things up in my next list. It's again super simple. If you go to like the Notion template gallery, you'll see a million dashboards that are super sophisticated. Some are simple. It's really about finding what works for you. And I found that this just works for me. And yeah. Let's see what else. I also have like a notes database. So I keep track here of like different things I might be exploring, working on, taking notes. So for example, like a trip or a project, or like looking back at 2023, looking ahead at 2024. Like this is just like a doc I kind of put together, started, building it out, and it's just like easily accessible in this little notes database. I have like a list of offices I might go to or things I'm planning, and the reason this is like nice as a database here is one, well, it has dates, it has tags, so I can like easily organize things and kind of relook through things. And then sometimes I just like when I'm going to my dashboard, I just basically have like I'll just like tag different notes. So like I know that I have to plan this trip, so I'm just like tagging this as like an area to focus on because I know I'm going pretty soon. That between my dashboard and notes, like that's just how I'm able to kind of like keep things organized in my head. Another use case that I use quite a bit is files. So I have a bunch of files here, like PDFs of my passports, IDs. I need these all the time. I also in here somewhere, or maybe it's a different page, I have like I have just like the numbers that I need, like my passport number or my ID number or passport expiration date. I don't put passwords in here. I use 1Password for passwords. I don't think you should put passwords in here, but I'm fine putting in files. And I found this to be super useful because I just constantly need these things. Yeah, I'm gonna take a quick pause here. Any questions as I'm going through all this? Any questions, comments? Just put it in the chat. I
Okay.
think if you do, it's just a little easier, I think, to manage then.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, hey.
so I see. Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, I was listening quietly. I see that Ian is actually and Raquel are also like asking the same thing. So I try to use Notion for like a lot of times. I try to kind of integrate that into my daily workflow, kind of say you could say. But it was always something that kind of that didn't fit exactly right, usually with interacting with other things. So I see that everybody's asking about social posts, for example. So I really would want to see like how does it look like? How do you keep that there? Or more going deeper maybe into how like notes are structured internally, if it's possible.
Yeah, sure. Um, yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, like this, my personal workspace is going to be a lot less sophisticated, collaborative than like a company that's using Notion and has a bunch of people kind of building out a wiki together or building out a database together, right? Like this is, I'm just doing this as everything here is like as minimal as possible because these are all things I'm like pretty much doing solo and just I need them to be like really simple and accessible. So I'm not, you know, like I'm not, I don't think if you're like working with like a social media team, like you would do what I'm doing, for example. Like I basically just like I add in like random ideas here of like things I might want to share on Twitter or LinkedIn. And then I kind of just rank them. I was like, oh, this is a good idea. I put a date of when I would want to do it. And then like I change the status after I've posted it. This is like, for me, it's really helpful. It's just like a brain dump, but for, and then I maybe like, take a, you know, add in some notes, what I might write, you know, play around with it, embed examples like I've seen from other people. But again, this works well for me because I'm just like throwing in ideas here all the time and then just like changing the status as I do them.
Okay, so it's more so I'm also thinking about this for personal use. So
Yeah.
for you, you're saying it's like mostly like starts, like a brain dump, like a place where, oh, I have this cool idea, I'll write it there. And then
Yeah.
like you go and then you develop it from that. It's more than like I'm gonna write those posts in advance and manage it from there. It's more just like reminder of what you want to do and make the decision.
Well,
Sometimes you
I'll go
write it
in.
in.
I'll go in here and like start to write it like, okay, LinkedIn, Twitter, and then I'll, you know, like maybe this is what I'm going to use on Twitter. That this is like, I'll do that in here. I just do it like over time. I don't, but I
Yeah.
use this database structure for that. Definitely.
And once you posted it, you just move it to
Once
archive.
once I posted, I would just change the status. I have like a couple statuses like ready, draft, done, pass, and then it just filters based on that.
Yeah, okay.
You know, you could add like a little view here of like things that are done or whatever it might be.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
cool.
yeah, I think, I mean, other things that I found really useful is I have like my personal website in Notion. So if you go to benlang.me, this is the Notion page, and it's actually just pulling from here. I use a product called super.so to kind of make that connection point for custom domains, and it speeds up the page, makes it look really nice. I really like this just because like it's so accessible. Like I just have everything inside of Notion, right? So it's like, oh, I want to make a change to my website. Like just, you know, just search Ben Lang and then like I'm in my website, right? I don't have to like sign into a new dashboard, deal with hosting, whatever it might be. I've made like a bunch of websites with Notion just because of like how convenient I find it. And I also just I like the aesthetics of like the pages that you make with Notion for like very simple pages. I think for like personal pages or very simple landing pages or like new projects you're working on, I think like Notion websites can be really good for hiring pages, things like that. Okay, jumping into my relationship space or like marriage space. This is just like workspace, like family home, where just as an example, like we have like food, you know, food we need to get, groceries. So, and like places maybe we get the groceries and like, we'll just like throughout the week, we'll add things in here. Once we get them, we'll check them off and we'll throw them into done. Very simple, very accessible, works really well for us. Trips as well. Anytime we're like planning trips. So like, planning a trip to different places in Asia. So, you know, we have like, this database. We have inside of this database in each entry, maybe we have like We have this database with like the calendar, where we're going, where we're staying, places we want to check out, notes, things we need to do, all of our flights. If I go in here, like I can see exactly like what time the flight is. Everything is documented in here. I know that like I have exactly what I need, and I know everything that's going to happen. So, and every trip we do this, anywhere we go, it's just like so useful to have everything in one place. And we're both, this is a collaborative workspace. We're both in here as members, so like we can both go and make changes and kind of add in over time. And then like just like another fun example, like anytime like when we go out, like we try to go out on a date, like we just like take a picture and like just add it in here and like just have like a fun memory. And it's just like a nice database to look back on and like kind of see fun things you've done. And then I know we're like getting close to the time here. Just other quick examples, like keeping a pipeline inside of Notion. Like this is just a database with like grouping where you can see like maybe companies you're meeting, tracking, and this is just kind of something over time that I've built out. And there's some really good templates for this. I would definitely recommend just like maybe checking out some of the existing like angel investing templates if that's something you do. I made this like user guide that I send to people when I'm like investing in a company. It's just a page that I made public. I send a link. I think another really good example of like what you can do when you make pages public. And yeah, and then like I have like a little CRM as well of like, okay, here's maybe investors I'm in touch with, angels, founders, very simple database here where I'm just kind of keeping track of people. So yeah, these are some of the ways I use Notion. I want to try to answer any questions before we run out of time here. And I think just like a couple quick things before we wrap up. Like one is, I think Arc, like just when you're getting started, figuring out like what spaces you want, I think is really important. Even just having like a personal space and then maybe like a workspace, and then kind of creating bookmarks accordingly. Notion, it's really whatever you make it. I'm very minimal. I like to keep things simple. You probably saw that. Sometimes it gets more sophisticated, like with the trips or with like pipeline, but it's about finding what works for you and building that. And that's what like the power of Notion is. I think that it gives you the ability to create whatever it is you want to create. And if you want to learn more and like see tons more examples, dive deeper, like just check out Notion's template gallery or search YouTube for inspiration and learning. There's just like so much you can see. I do that all the time. I'll just quickly, a couple questions. Do I use Google Drive or do you use Notion for it? I don't really use Google Drive anymore. I don't think, I probably have like old things there, but I don't create anything inside of Google Drive really. Sometimes people share stuff with me, so I'll do it there. I do use Airtable for some things though. I do really like Airtable. Is there a way to see relevant tasks from one place from all the projects and workspaces? No, you would need to have like one tasks database, and then kind of if it's like a workspace with a bunch of people, you could have. I think at Notion we had a tasks database that everyone had access to, and then you would kind of create your own view of like my tasks or monetization engineering team's tasks, and then you would kind of create filters based off of that and bring those tasks into whatever page, dashboard, anywhere you are. If you search how Notion uses Notion, there's a really good overview of that blog post that Notion created. And then anything that tasks assigned by my wife, I just add them in my personal one. We don't have a shared task dashboard. That would be tricky. How much time do I spend on Notion every day? I'm in Notion every day for like hours. I do everything here. It's just kind of my home base for everything. Again, I use other tools. Like you can see on the left side, I have like an Airtable here. I have Beehive. There's a bunch of other bookmarks here, things like, Superhuman, Cron. I'm in a lot of other things. It's just I'm spending a bunch of my time inside of Notion as kind of my home base for everything. I don't use Apple Notes. I use Notion, a widget on my phone, and it just links directly to my dashboard. I found that to work really well. Okay. And how do you keep everything up to date? There's definitely things that come out of date. I just kind of do audits of my Notion every once in a while, and I'll just kind of clean things up, update things over time. But yeah, that's definitely something you kind of have to keep doing over time, especially like a personal Notion where it's just you. There's no one else looking at it. I know some people have to drop. I hope this was helpful. I'm happy to do like more topics in the future, do like deeper dives, maybe more about Notion, collaboration, Superhuman, Airtable, whatever. Like I use a lot of these things pretty heavily. So if it's something you're interested in, like definitely let me know. I'd love to keep in touch. I hope this was useful for everyone who joined. Thank you so much. Any hints of what's happening on the Notion countdown on social? Good question. Cool. Thank you so much, everyone. I know we're out of time here. Appreciate you joining. See y'all later. I have a recording of this, by the way. So if anyone wants it, let me know. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.